there is a smile that does not comfort. It is unsettling. A smile that looks warm on the surface but hides a storm beneath. You might have seen it on a friend who says, "No problem," while their eyes burn with quiet rage. You might have seen it on a co-worker who agrees to help, then deliberately delays until you fail. This smile, both sweet and venomous, is the mask of passive aggression. Unlike open anger, it does not shout or throw fists. It hides in silence, sarcasm, fake agreement, and subtle sabotage. You cannot grab it by the throat because it slips through your fingers like smoke. Yet it leaves you confused, guilty, and questioning your own sanity. Why do people choose this shadowy form of anger? How does it poison relationships, families, and even entire workplaces? And most important, how do you defend yourself without losing your own humanity? Today, we will walk into the dark corridors of psychology where hidden hostility lives. We will expose the angry smile, understand the pain behind it, and learn how to break free from its control. Stay with me, because this journey will change how you see people forever. There are people who never raise their voice, who never slam a door, who never confront you directly. On the surface they appear calm, agreeable, and even polite. Yet when you walk away, something feels off. A task you depended on them for is left unfinished. A promise is delayed without reason. A sarcastic remark slips out at the exact moment you need support. This is the shadow world of passive aggression, and the symbol of it is the angry smile. The angry smile is not warm. It does not come from joy. It is a smile stretched across a face that hides resentment. It says, "I agree," while the heart whispers, "I will not let you win." It is the weapon of someone who fears open conflict but still craves control. Unlike the raw outburst of rage that leaves scars on walls and words, passive aggression leaves scars on the mind. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder whether you are imagining things. And in that confusion, the passive-aggressive person gains power. Why does someone hide their anger in this way? To answer that, we must understand anger itself. Anger is a natural emotion. It tells us when we feel wronged, unheard, or unsafe. But not everyone is allowed to show anger. In some homes, anger is punished harshly. In some cultures, anger is seen as weakness or sin. Children growing up in such places learn that expressing frustration is dangerous. Yet the emotion does not vanish. It mutates. It takes a darker path underground, where it grows sharp but hidden. This is the seed of passive aggression. Sigmund Freud once described repression as burying thoughts and feelings in the unconscious. What we bury does not die. It leaks out in strange and unhealthy ways. Passive aggression is one of those leaks. It is anger that has been buried so deeply that direct expression feels impossible. But the need for revenge or control still exists. And so, the person smiles while setting traps, nods while preparing to delay, and agrees while quietly resisting. The danger of the angry smile is that it creates psychological fog. If someone screams at you, you know where you stand. If someone insults you, you hear it clearly. But if someone smiles while undermining you, your brain struggles to interpret. You begin to doubt your instincts. Over time, this self-doubt can be more damaging than open hostility. It erodes trust in your own judgment. It makes you vulnerable to manipulation. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned that suppressed emotions can turn destructive when left to rot. Passive aggression is proof of that warning. It is the slow poison of relationships, dripping day after day, corroding love, trust, and cooperation. It is why an office team collapses, why marriages grow cold, why friendships end without explanation. And yet, behind the angry smile is still a human being. A person who has been taught that their voice is dangerous. Understanding this does not excuse their behavior, but it opens the door to exploring why it begins. Every pattern of human behavior has a birthplace. Passive aggression, too, is not born in adulthood. Its roots reach back into the fragile years of childhood, when a child first learns what is safe to express and what must be hidden. In many families, anger is not seen as a signal to be understood, but as a threat to be crushed. A child who cries or protests may be silenced with harsh words. A child who shows frustration may be mocked, punished, or ignored. The message is clear: anger is not allowed here. But what does a child do with feelings that cannot be shown? They do not disappear. They go underground. The child begins to smile when they are hurting, nod when they disagree, and obey when they secretly resist. In that moment, the seed of the angry smile is planted. The child learns that open anger leads to danger, but hidden anger allows survival. What began as protection slowly becomes a way of life. Psychologists like Carl Jung warn that what is repressed in childhood does not vanish. It becomes part of the shadow, the hidden self that grows stronger in silence. If a child grows up under constant criticism or rigid authority, they may develop a double life: outwardly obedient, inwardly rebellious. Years later, this rebellion emerges not as direct defiance but as subtle sabotage. Picture a student who is told never to talk back. In class, they sit quietly, nodding at the teacher. But at home, they forget their homework, lose assignments, or purposely perform below their potential. Their anger has no safe outlet, so it slips through disguised actions. This same pattern can stretch into adulthood. A worker who grew up in such an environment may never confront a boss, but may delay projects or intentionally make mistakes. Family dysfunction also feeds passive aggression. In households where parents argue constantly or play power games, children often feel trapped. They cannot challenge the stronger figures, yet they refuse to remain powerless. The only escape is to resist in ways that are invisible. Refusal hides inside silence. Protest hides inside sarcasm. Anger hides inside compliance. Even love can become twisted into pressure. Some parents demand perfection and label mistakes as failures. In such homes, a child learns to cover frustration with a polite face. They become skilled actors, hiding their true feelings behind masks of obedience. But behind those masks, resentment simmers. Years later, in relationships, they may smile and say yes, while inside they burn with no. The roots of passive aggression are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are small, almost invisible moments repeated over years. A father who mocks his child's tears. A mother who insists that being good means never being angry. A teacher who humiliates a student for speaking up. Each moment leaves a scar. Together, they create a person who learns to survive by smiling through anger. This is how the angry smile is born. It is not random. It is a learned survival strategy. But what begins as protection in childhood becomes destruction in adulthood. Passive aggression does not strike like lightning. It creeps in slowly, disguised as harmless behavior. It hides behind politeness, humor, or silence, but its purpose is always the same: to resist, to punish, or to control without ever being caught. The angry smile is only the face of it. Behind that smile lies a collection of weapons that are subtle, sharp, and often invisible until it is too late. One of the most common is procrastination. On the surface, it looks like forgetfulness or poor time management. In truth, it is resistance disguised as delay. A partner says, "I will fix the broken shelf tomorrow," but tomorrow never arrives. A co-worker promises, "I will send that file tonight," but the inbox remains empty. These delays are not accidents. They are acts of silent rebellion. By withholding action, the passive-aggressive person exerts control while appearing innocent. Another weapon is intentional inefficiency. Tasks are completed, but done poorly, so that frustration grows. A teenager asked to clean a room may shove everything under the bed. An employee told to handle a project may deliver it with errors so obvious they cannot be ignored. The message is clear: you cannot force me to cooperate, and if you try, I will make you regret it. Sarcasm is another blade. Wrapped in humor, it cuts deep while offering a shield of denial. The passive-aggressive person makes a remark that feels insulting, but when confronted, they respond with, "It was just a joke. You are too sensitive." In that moment, the victim is left doubting their own reaction, wondering if they truly overreacted. This cycle of offense followed by denial is one of the cruelest tricks of passive aggression, because it distorts reality and leaves the victim questioning themselves. Silence can be a prison too. Passive-aggressive silence is not peaceful. It is a weaponized refusal to engage. A partner may stop speaking for days, forcing the other into guilt and desperation. A friend may reply with short, cold answers that punish without explanation. Silence becomes a battlefield where one person holds power by withdrawing connection. Then there is hidden sabotage. A person may agree to support you but secretly undermine you. A classmate says they will share notes but conveniently loses them. A colleague says they are part of your team but spreads doubt behind your back. The attack is invisible, but the damage is real. These weapons make passive aggression especially dangerous. Unlike open conflict, where wounds are visible, passive aggression leaves invisible cuts. Over time, these cuts bleed into trust, patience, and even self-esteem. Victims may begin to feel crazy, as if the problem is inside them rather than in the behavior of the other person. That is why passive aggression is not just frustrating, it is psychologically destabilizing. The angry smile is not harmless. It is a disguise for war waged in whispers, delays, and half-truths. And the longer it continues, the more toxic the relationship becomes. Living with someone who hides their anger behind smiles and silence is like being strapped into a ride you never agreed to board. The track looks calm at first, but soon you are pulled up and down without warning. One moment there is peace, the next moment tension hangs in the air so thick you can hardly breathe. This is the emotional rollercoaster of dealing with passive aggression. The most destructive part of this pattern is confusion. With direct aggression, you at least know what you are facing. A shouted insult or slammed door is painful, but it is clear. With passive aggression, the attack is hidden. A partner says, everything is fine, while their behavior screams the opposite. A friend agrees to plans but later cancels without explanation. A colleague promises help but quietly lets you fail. Each moment leaves you wondering, did I do something wrong, or am I just imagining it? Over time, doubt eats away at your sense of reality. This doubt slowly builds frustration. You feel the sting of being undermined, but when you confront the other person, they deny everything. They look at you with innocent eyes and say, I never meant that, or, you are reading too much into it. Suddenly the frustration twists into guilt. You question your own judgment. You wonder if you are overreacting. This cycle traps you between anger and self-blame, draining your emotional strength. In families, this rollercoaster can last for years. A child grows up with a parent who never yells but always punishes through silence or subtle sabotage. The child learns to walk on eggshells, scanning every expression, every pause, every sigh, trying to avoid invisible landmines. In adulthood, they may carry this habit into relationships, forever hypervigilant, forever doubting themselves. In workplaces, the damage is equally sharp. Teams collapse under the weight of hidden resistance. One member agrees to tasks but delivers nothing. Another nods in meetings but spreads negativity afterward. Productivity falls, but no one can point to a clear cause. Leaders grow frustrated, trust crumbles, and the environment becomes poisoned with suspicion. The emotional rollercoaster also affects intimacy. In close relationships, passive aggression replaces warmth with coldness. Instead of open communication, there are sarcastic remarks, delayed responses, and silent punishments. Love begins to feel conditional, given or withdrawn like a weapon. Over time, partners stop feeling safe with each other. Resentment grows, but because it is never expressed openly, it festers like a hidden infection. Carl Jung once said that what we do not make conscious will return to us as fate. The rollercoaster is fate repeating itself. The person who hides their anger creates chaos they never admit to. The person who suffers from it doubts themselves until their identity shakes. Together they spin in circles of unspoken resentment. This cycle does not end on its own. Passive aggression, if left unchecked, always escalates. Small delays become bigger betrayals. Silent punishments turn into emotional distance that cannot be repaired. Eventually, the roller coaster ends in either explosive conflict or total collapse of the relationship. Breaking free from the angry smile is not about destroying the person behind it. It is about breaking the cycle of hidden hostility before it poisons both sides. This requires awareness, boundaries, and courage, because passive aggression thrives in shadows. The first step is to recognize the signs for what they are. When delays repeat, when sarcasm cuts, when silence feels like punishment, name it in your mind. Awareness is power. Once you see the pattern, you stop doubting your own sanity. The second step is to refuse to play the game. Passive aggression feeds on confusion and guilt. When you react with anger, the passive-aggressive person denies responsibility, leaving you looking unreasonable. When you retreat into silence, you give them control. The way out is calm clarity. Describe what you see without accusation. Instead of saying, "You are sabotaging me," say, "You agreed to finish this yesterday, and it is still undone." Focus on facts, not on character. This prevents the cycle of denial and blame from trapping you. Boundaries are the third step. If someone repeatedly punishes you with silence or sabotage, you must decide how much access they deserve to your life. In workplaces, this may mean documenting behavior and setting clear expectations. In personal relationships, it may mean limiting emotional dependence until trust is rebuilt. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. They signal that your dignity is not negotiable. For those who carry passive aggression inside themselves, healing begins with facing the anger that was once buried. This is difficult, because it requires revisiting the early wounds where the pattern was born. It means admitting, "Yes, I am angry," without shame. It means learning that expressing frustration directly is not always dangerous. Therapy, journaling, and honest conversation can help uncover the roots. When anger is expressed openly and respectfully, it loses its need to hide behind sabotage. There is also compassion. Behind the angry smile is usually fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of punishment. Fear of losing control. Understanding this fear does not excuse the damage caused, but it softens our approach. If you are dealing with someone passive-aggressive, showing empathy while staying firm can disarm some of their hidden hostility. It reminds them that conflict does not have to mean destruction. Breaking the cycle is not easy. It demands emotional strength, patience, and sometimes painful choices. Some relationships will not survive the shift. Some people are so invested in their patterns that they refuse to change. But others, when met with steady boundaries and calm truth, may finally face their own shadows. The angry smile will always try to disguise itself as harmless. But once you learn to see it, you cannot be fooled. You understand the pain behind it, but you also understand your own worth. The choice to step off the emotional roller coaster is yours. By recognizing, naming, and refusing to empower passive aggression, you free yourself from its grip and open the path to healthier, more honest human connection.